This is You're Probably Right. Entertainment first, everything else is just bonus. Opinions, all ours. Sometimes backed by research, but never the final word. There are always exceptions, so take it with a grain of salt and a slight dusting of chili powder.
That's the fight and the fright, we're searching for truth.
Come on.
The quiet answer stays inside.
Come on.
You are probably right, it cuts but it heals, it stings but it feels.
That's right.
You are probably right, I'm born to the cure, the pain in my soul. From gliding to ignite, we're finding the way. From biting to inside, where shadows give way.
Yeah.
You are probably right.
All right, what's up, y'all? It's MCM. How you doing? Back at it again. What you say about that? We're still here. Episode 265, Micro-Betrayals. Now, I might be coming up with a better topic. No, I guess I can keep, I don't know. I try to be funny and be all cutesy poo with the titles of these things. And sometimes I just say it straight. Maybe they'll give me more views that way. I don't know. Anyhow, welcome back to You're Probably Right. Voice is kind of funny. It's a little hoarse, but hey, man, it's like you're listening to a different podcaster. So maybe it's a treat for you. Today, I want to talk about something that doesn't make headlines. It's not dramatic. It's not the kind of thing people usually bring up when they talk about betrayal. I'm talking about micro-betrayals. There's always micro everything, microaggressions, micro-blading. No. Okay, I'm just messing with you. All right. Anyhow, guys, thanks for coming out again. This is You're Probably Right. As I said before, at MCM here talking to you on the mic, just hanging out with you, just like I'm a friend of yours. And I just happen to try to be spitting some game on the game. Okay, not really. I'm feeling silly today, y'all. Anyhow, I'm going to just stay on track. I think this is a very important topic that doesn't get talked about enough, I think. Well, we'll see by the end of this, right? Listen, these are quiet actions. They don't look like cheating in the traditional sense. They're not full-on affairs. They're not scandals. They're the little cracks, the small secrets, the tiny lies, the dismissals, the subtle disloyalties that slowly eat away at the trust in a relationship. That's right. And make no mistake, trust doesn't only break in like explosion. Sometimes it dissolves in little drips. Either way, it's the same thing. This one's a little more sinister. I'll let you be the judge of which one that is. All right, part one. What are betrayals? So what do you mean by micro-betrayals? Someone said. Micro-betrayals. Sounds like, how you call it? Science. Micro-betrayals? I had micro-betrayals last night. They helped me get through the day. Anyway, it could be hiding texts, conversations with your ex. Maybe you're still talking to your ex and you just don't want to let the person know. It could be jokingly flirting with someone under the label of so-called friendship. It could be making financial decisions without telling your partner. Or maybe it's something even smaller, like complaining about your partner to other people instead of to them. Yes, guys, this is all betrayal. I almost feel like I should read it again. But I mean, you could probably rewind it. I think you should. It could be even like leaving out details, lying by omission, thinking, well, if they don't know, it can't hurt them. These things seem harmless in the moment, but over time they add up, and eventually you probably slip. They send a message, you can't trust me with the truth. It's a harsh reality, really, because there's so many of us do that, really, you know what I mean? Think about it. I actually want to read those over again. Just for the nuance, although you could just rewind it. But I'm going to read it again. Just listen as I get a piece of gum. It could be hiding a text. Have you ever hidden a text that someone sent you and you don't really talk to them, but for whatever reason you had to give them your number, or you gave them your number thinking that you were fancy free and footloose and maybe they would never call, but you don't want to seem weird, so you gave it out to say that, you know, your partner isn't self-conscious or isn't has self-esteem, doesn't have self-esteem issues, and they're okay with you talking to other people of the opposite sex. I don't know. But anyway, they got the number and they texted you. And it might not be something that your current fellow or madame would like. It could be jokingly flirting with someone under the label of friendship. Maybe you're at work. Maybe it's somebody you used to know. Maybe it's somebody you don't know and they were just in the mall at the grocery store or something. It could be making financial decisions without telling your partner. You guys put your money together and one of you decide that you're just going to spend a bunch of money over here and doesn't say anything to the other one. Oh, I sold the house, by the way. Or maybe it's something even smaller, like complaining about your partner to other people. People do it all the time. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this chick, man. Every time I'm trying to watch a football game, she shows up and she has this and that and this and that and the other thing to say. It sounds harmless, but the problem is you open the door for your friends to now comment on your partner because you're complaining to them. And, you know, reality, they wouldn't do it, but they can go back and say, you know, he told me about this, right? Think about it. And it goes with the girls too. Girls talk and say, oh, you know, he thinks he's so amazing in bed, blah, 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 blah. But you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many things they might complain about. Although many women have learned not to talk about their significant others' bed performances to their friends for obvious reasons. Anyhow, just leaving out little things, just lying by omission, just not saying something, leaving out little details that you know they'd be interested in, but it might turn into an argument or it might not go down so well. So you don't say it, right? And if they don't know, can't hurt them, right? As I said, these things seem harmless in the moment, but over time, they add up. They send a message. You can't trust me with the truth. And the thing is, some of these things, not all of them, some of them tend to crawl back on you and you might not be able to remember, especially if you were lying. Or if you omitted the truth and the next time you talk about it, you don't omit the same truth because you're almost speaking to the person as if it's a common knowledge thing. Meanwhile, it isn't because you decided to redact some of the common knowledge. Think about it this way. Betrayal isn't just about sex. It's about secrecy. When you keep something hidden, you're telling your partner, this part of me isn't safe with you. And that breaks more than rules. It breaks safety. And without safety, intimacy slowly crumbles. Number 2, why do people commit betrayals? I bet you know why you do. Now here's the question. Why people even do this? Why do they risk with these little lies, these little white lies? Sometimes it comes from conflict. If I tell the truth, we'll argue. That's the obvious one. Sometimes it's about unmet needs. I don't feel validated here, so I look for it out there, somewhere else. Maybe you don't feel beautiful, so when the guy on the street tells you you look beautiful, you just thank you and you bat your eyes after him and all that other stuff. And your dude at home doesn't know, but he's not saying it to you, so you want to get that from someone, I guess. I don't know. And sometimes it's about fuzzy boundaries. We never really defined what counts as betrayal. But let's be clear. The reason doesn't erase the impact to the person on the receiving end. The message is still, you're not valued. Your feelings don't matter. This relationship isn't that sacred. And that hurts just as much as a big betrayal. Just they haven't realized it yet. Number 3, examples of betrayal. Let's walk through this, some of these everyday situations. You're at a dinner and your partner keeps checking out other people right in front of you. Maybe it's a habit. Maybe it's just something. Maybe they just got that chicken neck. They just all over the place. It's like soon as somebody's silhouette or somebody's shadow, maybe you're a 6 foot guy, and every time you've noticed that every time a guy who obviously is coming up behind you guys from an angle and happens to be 4 or 5 inches taller, your wife or your girlfriend always tends to whoop in that direction to see who it is. They just got to know who else is in the room. Who knows? Maybe they don't think it's a big deal. Maybe they don't even recognize that they do it. But the message is clear. You're not enough to hold my attention. How about this? You ask how their day was, and they leave out important details, things they didn't want you to know. Maybe they don't call it lying, but omission is still deception. And it's not, well, he won't want to know that anyway. He always gets upset when I tell him about my day. Meanwhile, you know the thing that you're omitting today, he would definitely want to know, and he probably wouldn't be that happy about it. You know how it goes. How about this? You find out later they've been venting to friends or coworkers about you, painting you in a bad light instead of bringing issues to you directly. That erodes trust. And lastly, maybe it's financial. Maybe spending money in secret, hiding purchases, destroying emails of purchases, or hiding money or hiding purchases way back in the closet. And then by the time you pull it out, it'll be like, oh, I always had this dress. Saying it's not a big deal, but it is, because it's not about the money. It's about hiding. Each of these moments chip away at the foundation. One chip doesn't collapse the wall, but enough chips and the wall is very, very weak. Next, number 4, the emotional impact. So what does this feel like on the other side? It feels like anxiety. It feels like insecurity. It feels like constant second guessing. What else don't I know? What else information couldn't they trust me with? What else did they think that they could have said and would have caused me to blow up? Over time, resentment builds, intimacy fades, conversations, they shrink, and suddenly you're living with someone you can't fully trust, even if they've never had a big betrayal. And that's why micro-betrayals are so dangerous, because they disguise themselves as small things, but the emotional impact is anything but small. Next, recognizing micro-betrayals. So how do you recognize if this is happening in your relationship? I bet you want to know. Do I hide actions out of fear? Which is usually for most people. They love their partner, but it's out of fear of what the partner will do, right? So we'll say, do I hide actions out of fear of my partner's reactions? Or do I seek validation from people outside of my relationship instead of addressing the gap inside it? Or do I cross boundaries I've never clearly discussed? And you probably feel it's wrong at the same time, but we didn't discuss it so. And on the other side, do I often feel dismissed, excluded, or like I'm missing pieces of the story? Do I feel like I'm competing with others for my partner's attention? Do I feel more connected to strangers than the person I'm with? You find yourself talking to other guys in the midst of your own relationship, sometimes about your relationship. But no, I have a man. I'm talking to someone right now. Yeah, he's not the only one. These questions bring micro-betrayals into the light. And once you see them, you can't really ignore them. Number 6, stopping the cycle. Here's the good news. Micro-betrayals don't have to become micro-betrayals. Stopping the cycle starts with curiosity instead of defensiveness. Instead of saying, "Why are you so insecure?" say, "Help me understand why this hurts you." It means offering sincere apologies, not "I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm sorry I did that." Or, "I see the impact. I'll do better." It requires transparency, not oversharing every detail, but choosing openness over secrecy. And the most important thing, honest conversations about boundaries. What feels safe? What feels like betrayal? Don't assume. Define it for each other, Like, I don't know if you think there's always been this angst in your chest because your partner does not want to give you the code to their phone. They give you an excuse like, "Well, I bring my phone to work, and if I leave it on the table, I don't want somebody just to jump through my stuff, so I put a lock on it." Okay, great. So what's the code? Are you at that point in your relationship where you can give the person in your relationship in with a code or your code? Are you still kind of looking around while you're with this person, and that's why you refuse to give it? Maybe you talk about this person, so you don't want to give it. Because if you don't define betrayal as a couple, you'll each live separate definitions, and sooner or later, some of those definitions will definitely collide. And I'm telling you, with the phone, it's actually pretty serious. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone who is able to give them the code on their locked phone? They can go to sleep, you could pick up their phone, and they can look through everything, and you'd have no qualms about it. If you're not with that person and you are with someone, you really need to think about it. Just being honest. Is there maybe you can't go and tell the person the 50 lies that you've told already, or the 50 things that you've hidden already. But maybe there's some things that you can do to kind of clean house. Maybe it's a little bit murky in your phone pool. Maybe there's something you can do about it. Maybe you just need to start from today. Maybe you need to throw your cell phone off the CN Tower. Anyhow. Building trust. Rebuilding trust after micro-betrayal isn't a grand gesture. Again, it's about small, consistent choices. So, as I said, you might not be able to undo the 50 things that you did, or unsay the 50 things, or unhide, or just say, "Hey, look at all these 50 things that I did in the last 2 years that betrayed you. It's sending the text when you say you will. It's showing up when you promised. It's being emotionally present instead of distracted. It's about proving little by little that you can be trusted. Healing doesn't happen in leaps. It happens in inches, but every inch actually matters." That's what she said. In closing, y'all. So here's the takeaway. Betrayal doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Micro-betrayals may look small, but their impact can be very, very, very heavy. If you want intimacy to last, you have to name and stop the micro-betrayals that you are doing before they become patterns. And if they become a pattern, again, you need to stop it. It's only going to make things worse one day. And it might be a small thing today, but even though that thing hasn't been said, hasn't been shown, hasn't been found out, the day that it does, the reaction is going to be a lot larger than the reaction that you would have got in the first place. Remember that. Love survives not because we avoid mistakes, but because we repair them. We don't smooth over them. Because we stay curious, because we choose respect over secrecy. So ask yourself, am I being a safe place for my partner, for my love interest, for my wife, for my husband, for my girlfriend, for my boyfriend? Or am I letting small cracks form in the wall where, we're building together? Because one day those cracks become collapse. But if you name them slowly now, if you repair them slowly now, if you protect your connection now, those cracks never will have a chance to define your relationship. Anyhow, y'all, this is a nice little short one here this week. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of, you're probably right, episode 265, Micro-Betrayals. Take care, y'all. Hey, come check out You're Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 dogs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while, understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.